If you compare the two managers, Carlo Ancelotti and Hansi Flick, do you get the sense that Flick has done more, arguably with less, in terms of the players he's got at his disposal? The intriguing La Liga title race resumes this weekend. Here's how it all stands going into match week 30. Barca top, as you can see there, by 3 points from Real after 9 league wins in a row for Hansi Flick's side. Atletico, they're in third. They were in the race up until a couple of weeks ago, but they are now out of it, you'd say, after 3 games without a win. Adios to them. Barca up against Real Betis on Saturday in La Liga, while Real host Valencia. Of course, busy period for both sides, still fighting on 3 fronts in different competitions. We've got the Champions League next week, Borussia Dortmund for Barcelona and Arsenal for Real Madrid. Let's focus on Real first. They're taking on Valencia. And really the weakness for Real Madrid recently, we saw that in midweek, was their back line. They just look very creaky, quite leaky as well, leaking goals.
Yeah.
Is that something that Valencia are going to be able to exploit, or have they not got enough quality?
Well, I mean, look, it's not just in midweek against Real Sociedad where they gave up 4. Last weekend they played Leganés in La Liga, who are nobody's idea of a great team. And they managed to get 2 goals at the Bernabeu. Scoring at the Bernabeu used to be something where, oh my God, stop the presses. They've given up a goal at the it could be against Barcelona, never mind against the lesser lights in La Liga, and yet they give up goals all the time now. And you see there, they've given up the first goal in 3 of those games. It actually has been a theme for a while for Real Madrid. They tend to concede first and come back to go and win games, but giving up 9 goals over their last 5 games. It is a team, and Carlo Ancelotti has said it multiple times. He said it again after the game on Tuesday. It's a team that's imbalanced. And I don't know how they solve that problem anytime soon unless they really significantly commit to beefing up their midfield or maybe even dropping a number, because even when Mbappe was on the bench and they play with Arda Güler and they play with Endrick up front in the game against Sociedad, it is just an imbalanced team. And I don't know how you figure that out with the personnel available, with the lack of depth that they have in that team. This is just going to be a problem for the rest of the season. The question will be is, can they summon what is that flick of the switch that we see from them all the time, which we saw against Sociedad on Tuesday? They're 3-1 down. They looked hopeless. And then all of a sudden, 2 goals in 5 minutes, like it's nothing. They care again. And then they have to work their way back into the game once more. So it's just how often can they summon that effort? I don't think they're solving their defensive issues anytime soon.
Yeah, they're the past masters, aren't they, of winning when the backs are against the wall. A lot of been chatter recently about the future of Carlo Ancelotti. There's been links with that Brazil job that's come available. Do you think he is managing for his future, to coin a phrase, that the pressure is on him that if they don't win the league and if they don't win the Champions League, then he's going to potentially lose his job? Or has he got enough credit in his bank that he could stick around?
He should. He should have enough credit in his bank. And he has done a job that I'm not sure very many could do. Because you kind of, at Real Madrid, have to take what you are given, which is often wonderful, because you get Kylian Mbappe in the summer, and you have Bellingham and Rodrigo and Vini, and you are given great pieces, but you still have to make it all work. You still have to make the egos work and the personalities work and get results on the field. And yeah, maybe someone thinks that a different manager could come in and get these guys to play a different style of football that could get them better results, but I don't think so. I think they would be insane. I think this is for Carlo Ancelotti to decide what he wants to do in the future. Does he want to keep going? And if he wants to keep going, that's perfectly reasonable. You have a chance to win every competition you're in when you manage Real Madrid. But he has gotten the control of this team and of this club and managed them through some very difficult times when a lot of other managers would dial up the drama and the tension, and instead he has this team playing on that level of consistency. So if he wants to go, fair enough, but I think it would be insane for Real Madrid to think about getting rid of him.
So you think there is a world where they don't win La Liga, they don't win the Champions League, but Ancelotti is the Real Madrid manager next season?
Yes, I do. And I think it's just because the only way for me that he goes is if they lose all 5 matches with Barcelona, or theoretical all 5 matches with Barcelona, which we'll get to in a moment. But if they have a Copa Del Rey final, if they have a title decider in La Liga, and if, crazily enough, they would have a Champions League final that's an El Clasico, and they lose all 5 of them, then you have that conversation. But I think until that would be the worst case scenario. I think outside of that, he has to be in a job next season if he wants to.
Real Madrid's still in the title race, of course, as we saw the league there, but Barcelona is certainly the form team. 9 league wins in a row coming into their game against Real Betis on Saturday. How long do you think this run could potentially go on? Do you think they could go through the whole of 2025 unbeaten? Because the form has been unbelievable. 18 wins and 3 draws, no defeats.
For me, the wow thing is the goals for. They're playing 21 games, and they seem to score 3 goals with regularity as if it's easy. And they've, I think, hit for more than 120 goals now this season. It's wild how productive they are, but we are getting into the point of the season. I thought they handled Copa del Rey really well in midweek. They made some changes. They brought in Ferran Torres up front, who all of a sudden is finding form. To have a fourth forward player to be in form is an absolute luxury right now for Hansi Flick. We got the news today about the situation with the registration with Dani Olmo, so that should be okay, at least we think for now. But I do think that at some point the run has to come to an end, just because for me it's about balancing competitions. Can you game in and game out, deliver and deliver and deliver? As a matter of fact, they play a game this weekend against Real Betis. You mentioned that fixture. It's like, it's maybe earlier in the early part of the year, it's, we're playing Real Betis this week. But with the way that they've been playing recently, with as good as Cucho has been as a new signing for Anthony, for Isco, for Johnny Cardozo from midfield has come up with some big goals. For me, Real Betis is a very difficult game, especially when you're going into Champions League. I think they would have probably the draw you'd most want in a Champions League quarterfinal. But it's still a Champions League quarterfinal. You got to go and beat Borussia Dortmund. For as much as I think they're there for the taking, you have to go and beat them. So it's about that prioritization of, you got a big game against Real Madrid coming up in La Liga, in the Copa del Rey final, in, Champions League business end is, can you keep going? Can you deliver, especially the way that they like to play with that intensity and going at opposition? Can you get rest for Lamine Yamal at some point? Can you figure out how to balance the team? But I think for Barcelona, they're going to take some stopping, because it's a brilliant team going forward that give themselves margin for error by how many goals they score.
If you compare the two managers, Carlo Ancelotti and Hansi Flick, do you get the sense that Flick has done more, arguably with less, in terms of the players he's got at his disposal?
For me, Hansi Flick has done an unbelievable job, because you want to talk about managing the politics of Real Madrid. Managing the politics of Barcelona is very difficult at the moment, especially when he came in and they had gone on a managerial search. Remember, they were back and forth on the Xavi thing last year. At this time, we were talking about will he, won't he with Xavi, and he comes in and it's taking on a risk. Now, the risk could be worth it because of the amount of talent that they have coming through in their academy. But when you're coming into this job, you're not going to be able to sign a whole bunch of players because of the financial situation. They're having a hard time as it is getting Dani Olmo registered. You know that you're going to have to develop young players and get young players to perform consistently. Generally, when you have a squad as young as Barcelona do, you don't perform consistently because young players are still learning the game. They're still learning to play at this high of a level, and yet game in and game out, he gets this level of production from this group. And you have to go back to when he was a manager at Bayern. Remember, he left Bayern on top as winners of the Champions League, as winners of the Bundesliga, and then went to go manage the German national team and didn't go as well. But this is a very, very good manager that stepped into a difficult situation and has not only gotten this team to play well and compete in all three tournaments that they want to win, but also, I think, has changed a little bit the identity of Barcelona, which is as kind of wed to their style as any club in the world. They believe in what they believe in, and yet Flick has done something different, which can be bold and daring at a club like Barcelona, and managed to pull it off.
As you mentioned, these two, depending on what happens, they could play each other quite a few times between now and the end of the season. Do you see one of them dominating those matchups, or it'll just go back and forth, one will win a couple and then the other will win the other two?
Well, we've seen that domination from Barcelona earlier in the season. They won the meeting in La Liga at the Bernabeu by 4-0. They dominated them in the Supercopa in Saudi Arabia. I just can't see that happening 4, maybe 5 times. I can't see it. For as much as Barcelona have made life difficult for them with the high line, for as much as they've had really good performances against Real Madrid, they are a very good team. I just can't see a team with the talent that Real Madrid have, with their ability to hit out on the break against that high line, that they can't figure it out, that Carlo Ancelotti can't figure it out at some point. They're going to win one of these games, whether it's to win the Spanish Cup, whether it's to give themselves an advantage in La Liga, or maybe even in the Champions League. I can't see these two teams playing each other 4 or 5 times and Barcelona dominating as they did, because they have absolutely destroyed them. And it's in these periods of the game. There's 10 to 15-minute periods where Real Madrid look hopeless. I can't see that happening again.
9-2, the consecutive score.
Crazy.
There, which is absolutely unbelievable. In so many big scoring games in Spain this season. It has just been such a high-scoring season. And just to confirm that news you were mentioning there concerning Dani Olmo and Pau Victor, the La Liga had rejected the registration of both players due to Barcelona's failure to meet the league's financial regulations. But the Spanish Sports Council ultimately upheld Barcelona's appeal of La Liga's decision, as Guillem Balaguer just confirms there.